All right, YouTube, I'm live today. I think we go live on TikTok. I didn't really plan this one out, so let's see what happens. Basically, I learned that it's better if I don't plan the live and just let it happen when I feel like getting on than try to plan it because for some reason when I plan it, it doesn't go the way I'm hoping. So, live on TikTok today, live on YouTube. Today, we're going to talk about upgrading our self talk, learning to be a little bit nicer to ourselves, right? The way that you talk to yourself is really important. So, that's what we're talking about today on YouTube and TikTok. I'm going to put my TikTok in the chat right here in case you guys want to join me over there too. But if you are watching this, it's going to be uploaded onto my channel later. So, don't worry about missing anything because it'll be there. And hi, TikTok. We're talking about upgrading our self talk today. That's the topic. So, the reason I was thinking about this actually is because I was listening to a podcast this morning, um, and they were basically talking about body dysmorphia. And I think it's like a really interesting topic, but that's definitely one of those things that is affected by the way that you talk to yourself, like obviously, like your body image and stuff. And if anybody was in my membership program that was doing so well, but I did have to take it down because it's like a time commitment thing, but like I plan on bringing it back this spring, my membership program. So definitely stay tuned for that. But I feel like that's why I chose body image to be one of the first topics in the membership program because I know how much it like impacts people. Like I know body image is like a huge thing. So when I was listening to that podcast this morning and they were talking about body dysmorphia and stuff, that's why I wanted to talk about like upgrading the way that we talk to ourselves, upgrading our self-talk, learning to be nicer to ourselves, right? Because I feel like it's a really impactful thing. So, if you're watching this on YouTube, I'm streaming this on TikTok. Definitely go and find me on there if you don't follow my TikTok. I put it in the chat. And if you're watching this on TikTok, my YouTube is Renacita. We talk about like inner work, personal development style videos. So today we're talking about upgrading our self-talk, learning to be a little bit nicer to ourselves, watching the way that we talk to ourselves. And like I was saying earlier, what inspired me was that I was watching this video today on girls talking about like body dysmorphia and stuff, and it reminded me of my membership program where the first topic we did was body image because I already know how hard. I'm not sure if it. I mean, I'm sure it goes for both genders, but I know women especially. Like sometimes we're so hard on ourselves. The way that we talk to ourselves is like totally like diabolical. Like it doesn't have to go that far, but like when we really start practicing like awareness behind why like how we're talking to ourselves, sometimes it's really like dark. Like why are we being so mean? So that's why I wanted to bring attention to that today. That's our topic. Thank you. Someone stole your bike this morning. I'm so sorry. That's awful. That's like nobody likes to have a bad Monday. You don't want to start the week off that way. So sorry that happened to you. But yeah, so if you're just joining this on YouTube, today's topic is self talk, upgrading the way that we talk to ourselves, learning to be a little bit nicer to ourselves, or at least becoming aware of the way that we talk to ourselves. And I have a story time that's going to really embarrass me, but I'm going to talk about the first moment that I became aware of this. So, the first thing I want to say about this topic, um, if you're watching this on my TikTok, it's going to be recorded and put on my channel. So if you can't stay for the whole thing, definitely go and subscribe to my YouTube channel because it'll be on there. All of my live streams, I try to record them. Sometimes it doesn't work, the camera on my YouTube for whatever reason. It's really random, but I try to record it and put it on there. So if you can't stay the whole time, definitely go and check it out after. But yeah, today's topic is learning to be nicer to ourselves. And the first thing I want to say about this is that the reason that it's important is because the way that you talk to yourself is directly related to the way that you view yourself, like in your mind. And obviously, like the way that you view yourself, the way that you view the world, that's your truth. Like that's your reality. So if you want to change, if you want to like, it could be, you could have different goals. If you want to become more confident, if you want to like just start becoming like, I don't want to say positive because sometimes that's like overly used, but The first step is changing the way that you talk to yourself. The way you talk to yourself is directly related to the way that you view yourself. And the way that you view yourself is really important because people pick up on that. People pick up on that, right? So that's why I wanted to talk about it. Hi, Jersey. Jersey in the building. I had Jersey on my last live too, so that's funny. Yeah, so today we're talking about learning to be nicer to ourselves, changing the way that we talk about ourselves internally, right? It's not even like externally, but I'm going to do a story time on how I started realizing that actually I'm really hard on myself. And that is something that I have to change, okay? Because like I wasn't even aware of it until somebody pointed it out. And that's what I'm actually saying out loud. Somebody called me out for something that I said out loud. And I'm like, wow, if only they were like in my, like, then it just makes you think about what you're thinking, like how you're talking to yourself in your mind. People don't pick up on that, but they pick up on the things that you say. So the first time I realized that my self talk needed a little bit of work, that I was being like very critical of myself and very, very hard on myself, and just like straight up like being mean to myself in my own head was that I had somebody called me out. I had a friend at the time call me out, and it was like middle school, probably like early high school. And hi, Jersey, Jersey in the building today. We're talking about learning to be nicer to ourselves, upgrading our self talk. Actually, this can really change your life. Like, I think this was the first thing I did. I'm like a personal development addict. Like, I love doing my inner work. I'm into like mindset and stuff. But I feel like the first thing that woke me up that I needed a little bit of work on myself was when somebody called me out. Like learning the way that I talk about myself wasn't good. I had to have somebody literally point that out to me. I did not realize it. I thought everybody was like that. I thought that was normal to be that way. I had to have somebody call me out. So basically, this was like middle school, high school, and I forgot what we were talking about. It was like something petty. When you're with your friends, you're just talking shit. Like you're just talking about anything, anything. I don't have lip filler, babe. I have natural lips, but I appreciate the compliment. Um, Self-critical since those Oliver days. Um, Passing through from the For You page in Jersey. Hey, Jersey. Okay, so yeah, and that's what we're talking about today. And yeah, so basically, I was talking with my friend. We were like middle school, early high school, and I forgot what exactly I said, but she was like, "Why are you always putting yourself down? Like, why do you always talk like that?" And that was the first time I ever had anybody like address that about me. I didn't even know that was like something that I did, that I would like when I was talking, that in my conversation, I would like put myself down around people. I never knew that until she called me out. So that's a friend, that's a good friend, like telling you things about yourself. And that was when I first realized that like, wow, I'm actually like very, very critical of myself. Like my self-talk needs work. And I feel like that's what people mean when they're talking about self-deprecating humor. Like when you are around people who have like self-deprecating humor, there is sometimes it's just a joke, sometimes it's like a lighthearted thing, but like we do this in a way that's not humorous. Like we'll literally like put ourselves down casually, and it could be a passing comment, it could be like not that deep, but at the same time, like the things that you say, especially if they're like habitual, that says a lot about you. That says a lot about the way that you think and what you think of yourself. And the reason that I feel like this is something that needed a lot of attention in my life is because the way that you treat yourself, the way that you view yourself, that's how other people are going to look at you too. That's going to dictate like what you're allowing in your life. So I had to start there. I had to start with the way that I was talking to myself, the way that I was viewing myself. And thankfully I had a friend call me out and kind of point that out to me. I would have never known. If she didn't point out to me that I was constantly putting myself down, that would have never been an area of my life that I worked on. I mean, who knows, maybe in adulthood, but I'm happy that I caught that early on, right? So that's why I feel like this topic is important. And that was the first time that I realized I needed help there. She was like, "Why are you always putting yourself down?" And I was like, "Oh, like, ouch." Like, I didn't even realize that I was doing that. So, yeah. Yeah. And I was like pretty young too. So, those kind of things kind of stick with you. And yeah, I never thought about that area of my life. I never realized that it was something that I did. I thought everybody was like that. Like I thought everybody put themselves down. I thought everybody was that hard on themselves, that critical on themselves. I didn't realize that that wasn't normal. So I had to have somebody call me out to realize that. And if you're just joining this on YouTube, today we're talking about upgrading our self-talk. And I was sharing a story about the first time that I realized I needed to work on that area of my life. If you're just joining, it's going to be recorded and put on my channel. If you're watching this on TikTok, this will be recorded and put on my channel as well. So definitely subscribe. But yeah, so I don't know if this is the most important part of why sometimes this area of our life needs improvement, but it's definitely something that's worth thinking about, because if you're not careful about the way that you think of yourself, if you're not careful about the way that you talk about yourself, right? Unfortunately, I wish this wasn't true, but unfortunately, sometimes people pick up on that, and if you're not aware, they can kinda use it against you. Like, that's why the whole mission of my YouTube channel is to help people raise their self-esteem, because I had to learn that, like, sometimes people will pick up on that, and they will definitely use that against you if you're not careful. So, self-esteem is definitely something that needs a lot of work sometimes, and it can literally impact the way that people treat you. So, self talk is a good place to start if you're trying to improve your self esteem, if you're trying to become more confident. So, changing the way that you talk about yourself, changing the way that you view yourself can literally work as a form of protection against harm. Like, it can literally be a form of like self defense, a form of self protection when you have a high opinion of yourself, a high regard for yourself. And I feel like sometimes this topic gets kind of in the extremes where people start like, it becomes like an ego thing. But I just feel like there's a place for a healthy level of like self-respect. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not, trying to take it too far to the left. But the reason that I think it's important is because it can literally be a form of self-protection. The way that you talk to yourself, the way that you're looking at yourself, like who do you think you are? That's who you are internally, not what you're acting like, not who you say. Like, what are you thinking? That's really who you are, and that says a lot about yourself. And sometimes that needs work. I personally had to do a lot of work on my self image, on my confidence, on my self esteem. That's why I make these videos, because I know how freaking important it is. And unfortunately, you can really put yourself in, not only like a one down position just in general, but you can put yourself in some really tricky situations if you're not careful about this, right? If you're not careful about your self esteem, especially the first thing that comes to my mind is relationships. Like, there are people who prey on people with low self esteem and try to exploit them. That's the reality of the world we live in. I'm sorry. As I'm getting older, I'm coming out of the naivete that I had, and I'm realizing that people can be like this. And thank God I've learned this, because it's like protecting me now. So that's why I like to talk about these kind of topics in case you're new to my page. But yeah, so, my question for today, if you're watching this on YouTube, is how do you talk to yourself? How are we talking to ourselves on a daily basis? What are we thinking? And what are we saying about ourselves, even out loud to other people? Like, sometimes catch yourself. Like, if you catch yourself like me earlier and my little story about my friend calling me out, sometimes we have to catch ourselves saying things out loud and like ask yourself, is that true? Like, is that true? Do I really think that poorly of myself? And then we have to work on ourselves from there. So I'm just talking about this today because I'm personally very, very guilty. I'm super, super guilty of sometimes being really hard on myself. Like, I know we've all been there. I know we've all been there, right? And I have to catch myself. This is something that I constantly have to work on about myself, because like, there's a healthy levels of ambition that we should have, right? Like, we should go after our goals. We should be ambitious. We should be motivated. Right, right, right. But something that I've noticed is like sometimes that can work against us, where it's like, okay, because we haven't gotten to that goal, because we haven't done that thing that we're saying we're gonna do, we start to like be so hard on ourselves and like beat ourselves up. And it's like, no, like, you have to kind of be aware of the things that you're doing to get yourself there. Like, you don't have to beat yourself up about it. So I'm personally very guilty of sometimes being really hard on myself. That's why I wanted to talk about this today, because that's literally an area of my life that I'm working on right now. And yeah, I want to start talking about things as I'm working through them, not just personal things that I've already worked through. Like, I want to talk about the actual inner work that I'm doing in real time. This is one of those areas of my life where I'm doing that. So yeah, Let me know if that makes sense. But definitely the first step, if you're watching this on YouTube, we're talking about upgrading the way that we talk about ourselves, upgrading our self-talk, because that's like the first step, I would say, in how I started to raise my self-esteem and really like get myself in a better position, not only mentality wise, but like literally in life. Because the way that you think about yourself impacts what you will do that day, how likely you are to like go after the things that you want, how open you will feel, how your energy, like literally your energy. So I'm personally really guilty of being hard on myself. I'm working on this right now, I'm just saying. And yeah, I have so many examples of this, but I think the biggest thing that I've noticed personally for me, I'll just share my experience. The biggest thing I've noticed where I'm hard on myself is now, before it was like body image and stuff. I kinda did the inner work around that. I shared that in my membership program that's not live right now. It's gonna go back live very soon. I'm gonna announce it on my page. But the first area of my life that I noticed where I was being, like, very, very hard on myself was my body image and stuff, and I feel like that's really common with women, like, just being hard on ourselves about our appearance because it's such an illusion, like, this beauty standard that we're chasing, and it fucking sucks, and it's probably always gonna be relevant, unfortunately. But that was the first area of my life where I'm like, "Okay, I need to work on this. Like, I need to chill." So, yeah, but I did the inner work on that. Now I care mostly about my actually, like, my physical health, and it's not so much about my appearance. I care about my work, I care about my art, like, I care about things, like my purpose in life. There are things that come above how I look that are more important. I focus on those things. That's how I work through the body image stuff. But where I'm seeing this now, where I'm noticing that self-talk is very relevant right now, in my life personally. I don't know if anybody else can relate to this, but probably you can if you enjoy topics like this, like personal development, mindset work. It's like, and it's something I'm currently working through. So I'm not sure if I have a solution. This is just real time, my inner work right now. Is that I'm a very ambitious person. Like all I wanted my whole life, even when I was little, and it's a recurring theme in my life. All I ever freaking wanted was to just be successful. Like all I care about, it's really all I care about. Like I know some people like their biggest theme is they really want to be in love. They really want to find like their dream person. Like that's something that takes up a lot of, space in their mind. Some people are, they want to find their one, they're obsessed with love. Okay, that's their thing that they hyperfixate on. Some people, they really care about like, their looks or whatever. Some people really want to live somewhere or, we all have these goals that like we put a lot of energy and focus on. For me, I always just cared about being successful. That was like a very large theme. And I feel like no matter I switched careers a lot, not a lot, but I experiment a lot with different kinds of working. Right now, I like this. Like right now I like going live. Right now I like making YouTube videos. I've been liking YouTube for for a minute. So that's been pretty consistent. But lately I like the lives, right? And anyways, basically what I'm trying to say is that all I've ever really cared about that's a recurring theme in my life is being freaking successful. So that can be a good thing and that can also work against me sometimes. On a good day, it's helping me. Oh, I have a pop-up on my screen one time. Hold on. On a good day, this ambition is healthy, right? This ambition is helping me show up consistently. It's helping me make videos. It's giving me, a sense of drive in the morning, a sense of ambition. It's helping me stick to the things that I said I was going to do. On a bad day, I have, a vision of all these things I want to do. I realize that I'm not there yet. It turns into this thing of like, oh girl, you're not you're not where you want to be. You suck. You could be doing so much better. Why aren't you doing this? Like it can go either way. So like this is personally for me my current inner work struggle right now. That not struggle, but like something that I'm personally working through in terms of my own self-talk is not being hard on myself for not having the what I think is considered success. And the weird thing about success is that it's so objective, like it changes, right? Like a lot of people have a different idea of what it means to be successful. So like for me even the idea of what success meant to me changed. So it's weird to like be hard on yourself about these kind of things where there's no like black and white exactly how it should go and the goalpost just keeps moving. it really works against you to beat yourself up for not being there. You know what I mean? So personally for me, that's an area of my life that I'm working on improving my self-talk is regarding my career, regarding my ambition, what I consider to be successful. I've had to shift my focus and focus on the things that I am doing, right? That's something that's helping me. But that's why I think self-talk is so important because if I'm like, constantly like being hard on myself in terms of this area, it's going to work against me in that it's going to start discouraging me. It's going to make me not want to put any kind of work in at all. It's going to make me not want to show up. You know what I mean? So I really have to be conscious and aware of that and focus on the things that I am doing. And that's the thing about I don't know what you guys consider to be successful. I have my own idea of that. Right now, I'm really into entrepreneurship. I'm into like, I'm into that. So that's my success realm when I think of what it means to be successful to me. Everybody's different, right? So you consider what that means for you. But like, let's not use our desires in life. Let's not use our goals, look at them and beat ourselves up for not being there yet. Like they're there to motivate you. They're there to keep you inspired, to have you, working towards something. Like there's also a way to learn to enjoy working toward getting toward that thing. Like we don't have to like beat ourselves up, you know? So that's something I don't know. I'm passionate about that because that's literally something that I deal with. So personally for me, I was saying that the areas of my life that needed improvement regarding self-talk first I noticed was body image and like that whole thing. Obviously like beauty standards are a really big thing when it comes to women. Like we, sometimes can hyperfixate on that or just pick apart our little flaws or whatever and use that as a weapon against ourselves. Like we have to really be careful. And hi YouTube, thanks for watching. And this is going to be recorded and put on my channel later in case you missed the beginning. But we're talking about upgrading our self-talk, upgrading the way that we view ourselves, because the way that you view yourself and the way that you talk about yourself in your own mind is going to affect the way that you go through life. So I was talking about the areas of my life that I noticed needed improvement regarding self-talk. The first one was my body image and like, how I look, right? That was a major area of my life that I had to work on, was not being hard about myself on body image. And you know what's funny is that you would think that people that are in shape, people that like, they look good like physically, that they don't experience that. They're not experiencing like that struggle with body image. But I feel like sometimes those are the people that experience it the most. So like for example, like bodybuilders or like people that are like ridiculously in shape. Like obviously those are people worth admiring. Like obviously it signals so many things. It signals that they have discipline. It signals that they care about themselves enough to actually stick to things and get them done. You know what I mean? But at the same time, like I'm sure people who experience, bodybuilding and are really into fitness, they have their periods of time where they're being very hard on their body because the goalpost of what we consider to be that ideal just keeps moving. It's like, okay, we could always be better. Like this is just something that I noticed in people that are highly ambitious, even the people I've met in my own personal life that are like hyper successful, that in my mind, from where my vantage point, from where I'm sitting, I'm like, dang, like you have it all. Like you really have it all. You have all of the success, you have all of this money, you're beautiful. What more could you want? But even those people I've noticed, they have in their own mind their goals that they haven't reached. They have their own personal struggles too. So it's kind of like weird because these goalposts keep moving and we can't really we have to learn to not beat ourselves up on our way to getting toward that thing because guess what? Once you get to that point, you're going to want something else. I promise you. You're going to want something else and then you're just going to be chasing that thing. So like let's be nice to ourselves on the way to whatever it is that we're working on, right? So personally for me, I have to be careful of how I'm talking to myself regarding reaching my career goals right now. Okay? That's like the number one area of my life that I'm working on, being nicer to myself, right? So, like I said, I'm also very guilty of being hard on myself. This is an area of my life that needs work. That's why I'm on here talking about it today. Improving our self talk, improving our self dialogue. You know what I mean? Hold on, TikTok. I'm going to be right back because this thing keeps happening where I get this pop up and it doesn't let me like see the live. So, I'll be right back. And I'm sorry on YouTube for I have to do this for 1 second. Um, oops. I'll get better at this at some point. Okay. Okay. I'm back on TikTok. Follow me on TikTok if you're watching this on the YouTubes. This whole live will be recorded and put on my channel. But yeah, we're just talking about upgrading our self-talk, upgrading the way that we talk to ourselves, upgrading the way that we view ourselves. And I'm not sure if anybody was here in the beginning of this live, but I was basically starting it off by saying that the first time in my life, period, ever, that I realized I needed to work on how I talked about myself and how I viewed myself was literally when somebody called me out. And it was like low key humiliating. It was low key very embarrassing that somebody picked up on this because I'm like, wow, like, I never noticed this. So basically, it was like middle school or like early high school, and I was talking to my girlfriend, and like when you're with your friends, you're just talking crap, like you're talking about everything. And like literally mid conversation, she's like, and she just like called me out. Like she's one of those people that's like very blunt and she's not rude. She's just very blunt. So sometimes the things that she says, they come off kind of harsh, but I know her personally, so I know that she doesn't mean it that way. But this was one of those moments where I'm like, dang, like that kind of hurt, but okay. And she was basically like, why do you always put yourself down? Why are you always putting yourself down? And it was like mid conversation, we were talking about something completely different. And I totally had to catch myself. I'm like, whoa. It was like a moment where I'm like, oh my gosh, like I never knew that I did that. So thank God somebody called me out, right? And that just set up this whole thing where I started really working on the way that I talk about myself, the way that I view myself. I didn't know that I was being so hard on myself. That was the first area, the first time ever in life that I ever realized I needed to work on that. Okay. So that's why I'm kind of passionate about this topic because I feel like this was the first time that was kind of the catalyst that led me to even caring about personal development and inner work and like mindset stuff was somebody calling me out on the way that I talk about myself. And I have this weird pop up again. But yeah, so as hurtful as it was and as much as it like kind of shook me and made me feel embarrassed, made me feel, a little bit humiliated that somebody picked up on the fact that yeah, I'm not always nice to myself and I put myself down a lot. As hurtful as that was and as much as I felt called out in that moment, I am really grateful to her saying that to me because I had to then do work on myself from there. So if you're just joining this, we're talking about upgrading our self talk, upgrading our self concept, basically, because the way that you view yourself and the way that you talk about yourself go hand in hand, right? So, yeah, I was talking about the areas of my life that personally I'm working on regarding upgrading my self talk. It started off, I think, with body image, right? That was the first area. That's why I started my membership program talking about body image because I know that so many women, especially, experience struggles with body image and that affects their confidence and stuff. So, self talk is very important there. How are you talking to yourself? Like, are you beating yourself up because you're not where you want to be? Or are you acknowledging the little things that you're doing right now? Like, it's a really subtle mindset shift that's going to help you. It's going to help you a lot. It definitely helped me. So, my question for today, in general, for this whole entire live, if you missed the beginning, the live will be on my YouTube channel as well. But my main question for you today, emphasis, I'm clapping for emphasis, is how are you talking to yourself? Like, how do you talk to yourself? How do you talk about yourself in your own mind? Forget talking out loud to people in conversation. That's an easy thing to conceal, right? Like that doesn't mean that much. How are you talking about yourself in your own head? Okay? Time to start catching ourselves. Time to start catching ourselves when we think that we like I don't know, ever since I started becoming aware of this and I catch my own thoughts about me, which is weird because you would think that because it's me, you know, I would I would be kinder, right? I would have some more consideration for myself. No. Like it's weird because I'm the meanest to myself. Like I'm nice to other people, but in terms of like my thoughts and stuff when I'm really, becoming aware of how I'm thinking about myself, how I'm talking about myself, I'm so mean to myself sometimes and I'm like, "Girl, you need to work on that." So that's why we're talking about that today. And yeah. All right, so we're almost done. This whole live is going to be recorded and put on my channel. If you're just joining this on TikTok, But yeah, I just feel like this in general is an area of my life that I'm working on. So I wanted to share this with you guys. I want to become better about sharing things that I'm actively working on and not just things that I've already worked through. So my main question is, how are we talking to ourselves? Like, let's catch ourselves mid whatever mean thought and let's cut it out. So I have a lot of real life examples, but like I shared, the key moment was my friend calling me out and being like, "Why are you so hard on yourself? Like, why are you always putting yourself down? Like, that's not a good habit. That's not a good habit." So I had to train myself out of doing that. So I feel like this topic is especially relevant to women because it's almost like, and it's so toxic and it's so effed up. And it's like I feel like it's something that just keeps coming back. Like, it's not something I'm completely done with. Like, it's just a recurring thing where it's like we almost strive. Hold on, I just got a text. It's like we strive to be perfect as women. Like, it's just, but it sounds so stupid because obviously there's no such thing as anybody being perfect. But I feel like women, like, we fall into this trap of like trying to be perfect, like just chasing that, like, whatever that ideal is of like perfection. A lot of people, they try to do it with their looks. Like, they'll try to perfect their looks. They'll have this ideal like image in their mind of like, okay, if once I make X amount of money, once I'm at this number on the scale, once I have, a relationship that looks exactly like this, then I'm doing well. Like, then I'll be perfect. And then you get those things, and then you just find something else to like pick apart. And then you're like, okay, well, when I get that thing, like when I do that, then I'm gonna be in a good place. But it's just like a cycle. So I feel like, especially this is relevant to women, like just chasing that ideal of perfection, that's a way that we kind of practice negative self-talk because it's an illusion, right? Like, you're never really going to achieve it. So you're just going to be on this like loop. And that's when you become aware of it, it becomes easier to break away from. I'm just trying to like, bring some awareness to it. Thank you. True story. Yeah, it is very true. It's like it's so effed up. That's why my whole channel is about mindset work, personal development, and most importantly, the fundamental role and purpose of my YouTube channel is to help people raise their self esteem. And I have deeper reasons behind why I want to help people do that. But one of them is because I've personally witnessed through just like my own life experience, people being put in like really, I'm not gonna say the whole story. I'll let people tell their own stories. But I've seen people fall into very, very dark and toxic situations, relationship dynamics, life circumstances because of a low self esteem. I'm gonna say it like that. I'm gonna keep it PG. I'm gonna keep it lighthearted for this live. But seeing people go through those things and like seeing how it was caused by their low self-esteem that they even became basically a victim to those kinds of things just made me like really wake up and like want to share the things that I'm learning about how I personally raised my self-esteem, because you have to be very careful. Hi from Louisiana. Hi from New York. We're talking about I feel like I just went on a rant, but we're talking about upgrading our self-talk and upgrading our self-esteem. That's the bigger picture, but we're talking about the way that we talk to ourselves, the way that we view ourselves. That's going to literally influence how other people treat you. And like I said, I've personally witnessed people fall into some shit because of a low self-esteem. Toxic relationships, okay, toxic work environments, just life circumstances that they are not happy about, okay, caused and at their root from a low self-esteem. So that's why I like to talk about these topics and upload them on my channel. If you're just joining, this whole live will be on there. I'm going to get off soon, but that's what we're talking about today. And that's why I'm passionate about this kind of stuff. So yeah, like I was saying, women especially, we punish ourselves because we're not perfect. Like, we strive to be perfect sometimes, and it's just like such a trap because we're never going to get there. I have a video on my YouTube channel called Perfectionism is a Trap. So I talked about this before, right, on my channel, but I feel like as I'm maturing, I just learn like deeper levels to these same topics. So anyways, as a common theme, I see that women try to chase perfection, whatever that might be to them, whether it's the goal weight or like the goal relationship or like the goal beauty standard, or I don't know, we all have different goals and stuff. Side note, I love this candle right now. I have to share it. If you see this on YouTube, have you seen these candles? They're like that brand, and I told myself I was never gonna get it because it's freaking expensive, but it smells so damn good, okay? I treated myself for my birthday, okay? And now I'm obsessed. Like, this smells so good. I asked the lady at the store what, okay, let me chill. Let me get back to the topic. But I asked the lady at the store what's the most popular scent, and then I smelled it, and I was like, ew, like, I full, like, that is not, and then I smelled this one. That one is really good. So I don't know, their popular one is not my favorite. This one, it smells so good. Everybody needs this. Okay. I'm gonna get back to the topic, but I have it on right now and it smells so good. It kind of smells like figs, which is a weird smell, but it's like natural. I don't know. It smells so good. I might have to get the spray too. But yeah, if you're just joining this, we're talking about upgrading our self-talk, upgrading the way that we view ourselves, the way that we talk to ourselves in our own minds. This whole live is recorded and put on my YouTube channel. And if you're new to my page, if you're new to my work, we do a lot of mindset work, personal development work. That's what all of my content is about, basically. But at its core, we talk about raising our self-esteem. And I feel like it's very important to raise your self-esteem as a way to protect yourself. Like, high self-esteem is a form of protection. Physically, energetically, spiritually, having a high regard for yourself, having high levels of self-respect, you can protect yourself from a lot of very bad situations. I'm gonna say it like that. I'm gonna keep it cute. Bad situations. Someone said, I recently found myself on, oops, I recently found myself, and before I changed my mental, it didn't matter how many proactive things I did, like gym and work or reading, it helped nothing because my outlook and thoughts were stagnant. Thank you for saying that, because it's hard for me sometimes to express how impactful like the thought work has been for my life. Like, that's what I tried to talk about in my videos, but I don't know, I feel like it's hard to explain why that's so important. So thank you for saying that. I feel like that's what I'm doing. Like, I'm doing like thought work. Like, I'm helping people upgrade their mentality in that way, but it's just a such a weird and arbitrary thing to like explain sometimes that I don't know, but you did a really good job of doing that. So thank you for saying that. Yeah. So, hi, if you're just joining us, we're talking about upgrading our self-talk, upgrading the way that we view ourselves, and basically upgrading our self-esteem. That's what we're talking about today. Hi, YouTube. Definitely check out my inner work journal, Wisdom in Dark Paradise. I feel like that's also the number one practice that I can attest to for having helped me on my personal development journey, on my mindset journey, was journaling. And the thing that I hear about people who don't have this as a practice in their life, because to journal here and there is one thing, but like when you actually do it consistently, a lot of people, when I talk about this with them, they're like basically saying that they don't know what to write about. So they just don't journal because they don't know what to write about. So I created an inner work journal that basically guides you through inner work in the form of a journal. It's a 5-day journaling practice. It's called Wisdom in Dark Paradise. You can find it. If you're watching this on TikTok, I have a link to my website in my bio. And if you're watching this on YouTube, all of my links are always underneath my videos. So if you're into this kind of stuff, if you're into personal development, mindset work, I would recommend journaling. And of course, I would have to recommend my journal, Wisdom in Dark Paradise. The theme is wisdom. So for 5 days, I take you on like a little guided thing on how to become more wise. And you'll see once you get the journal. I don't want to, give too much away, keep the mystery. Someone said, you're so stunning, OMG. Thank you so much. So what did you do to help yourself? Help myself in what way? Yeah, let me know. But yeah, so back to what I was saying, because I keep going on these side rants. But basically, especially as women, we almost try to be perfect, and that really works against us. And it's like a thing that I have to keep relearning, because like we do this thing where we like fantasize about like how something's gonna be, or like even like how a person's gonna be, how a relationship's gonna be, how a thing is gonna be once we get there. And then come to find out, even once you get there, that situation has its own cons. It has its own problems. Like, it's not like things just become perfect, yay, and there's no struggle ever again. Like, no, once you get there, you're going to have a different set of problems. Maybe you'll be in a better situation compared to where you were before, but you're still going to have to deal with things. And especially when it comes to like the mentality stuff, like that's a huge block sometimes. Like even once you have the things, even once you have the success, once you have the relationship, then you have to do the inner work stuff. Someone said, I will start journaling. Thanks. Gotta go, but we'll definitely be back. Keep speaking truth to power, sister. All right. Thanks for joining. Definitely subscribe to my YouTube channel because this is where all of my full length videos go. TikTok is like, my short form content, but all of my longer videos are on my YouTube channel. So definitely subscribe there. So yeah, just something I want to say about like striving to be perfect is that obviously it sounds stupid when you say it out loud that you're trying to be perfect, but I feel like this is something that we're doing and we're not aware of that we have to kind of like cut out. So I have to do that with myself as well because I don't really deal with the perfectionism mindset as it relates to like my looks because I have other things I care about in life that I consider to be more important than how I look. And you know what? Beauty is an arbitrary thing because what one person finds beautiful, another person could be like that's ugly. But there's this quote and it's kind of silly, but it's basically for every butt shape, there's a person that likes that butt shape. And that's silly, but basically what it's saying is that like there's somebody for everyone. Like there's going to be a person that thinks you're beautiful, there's going to be a person that thinks you're ugly, there's going to like beauty is an arbitrary thing. So for me personally, I don't struggle with the perfectionism mindset when it comes to looks because I just don't care that much. I'll be honest, I care a lot about my health. Like I care a lot about like how I feel, and like I care a lot about physique. Like I like muscle definition, and I love a good physique, but it's because I grew up as like athletic and I grew up in the fitness environment. So that just became one of my values, but it's not like a how do you say? It's not like a physical vanity thing where I care a lot about my looks. Like I care about my health and I care about like physique because I know that that signals health. So it's a different thing. But so yeah, I don't struggle with the perfectionism mindset as much when it comes to looks, but an area of my life where I do kind of struggle with it is in terms of like success and like what that looks like because I have, very high ambition and I have like a vision and I'm like always chasing like the next thing that I'm trying to do, the next accomplishment, the next achievement. So for me, I struggle with perfectionism in that way. Like that's where that shows up for me. And that's something that I have to work on. And I feel like as women especially, or probably this goes for both, but like it's like anything less than perfect, we punish ourselves. Like and it's toxic. It's toxic and we have to cut it out. And even worse than that, like even worse than punishing ourselves for not being where we want to be or not looking how we want to look, even worse is that sometimes we'll use that as a reason to not even try. Period. Period. Like we won't even try at all. And that's even worse. Like that's even worse when you're so hard on yourself and you're so critical about yourself and the things that you're doing that you use that as a reason to not try at all. Like that's got to go. We're leaving that in the past, right? So that's something that I personally had to work on. And like I said, I'm learning to talk on things as I'm going through them. And it's something that I still deal with and I'm just trying to become aware of is the way that I talk to myself, the way that, I view myself in my own mind, forgetting what anybody else thinks, right? In my own mind, my own view of myself. And like I said, it can work as a form of self protection. So, next on this is that something else I want to say is that sometimes depression and anxiety, it's coming from a place where basically you're just too focused on yourself and you need to zoom out a little bit. Like just like cutting out that habit of being overly focused on ourselves is a good way to like practice to stop the practice of negative self-talk. Okay, sometimes we just have to zoom out and take that focus out of ourselves, if that makes sense. So yeah, if you're watching this on YouTube, the earlier part of this live is going to be recorded and posted on my channel. And even if you're watching this on my TikTok, the whole live will be on my YouTube channel as well. So definitely go back to the beginning if you missed it because we're about to get off. But in case you're just joining, we're talking about upgrading the way that we talk to ourselves, the way that we view ourselves. And yeah, so my question for today, the question that I'm trying to pose for I don't know, whoever's watching this today, is how do you talk to yourself? And honestly, like be really self reflective right now and be like, where in your life do you tend to be overly critical about yourself? Like, that's the first step, just becoming aware. Where in our life do we tend to be overly critical of ourselves? Is it how you look? Like, is that an area of your life where you're normally very picking yourself apart? Is it maybe you're a parent? Is it your parenting? Is that the area of your life that you tend to be very hard on yourself about? Like everybody has their things, but the first step is becoming aware of what area of our life we tend to be overly critical, because that's the area of your life that you're going to have to start becoming aware of and improving your self-talk, like the conversation with yourself inside. And I was so shocked, appalled even when I started to stop and really notice the things that I was saying to myself about me, like how mean I am to myself sometimes. That's got to go. And awareness is the first step in improving that. So, yeah, we all have different areas of our life that we tend to be overly critical. Where is that for you? And sometimes people use even comparison. Sometimes that's people's personal tool of like self sabotage, is like comparing. And we are, I don't know, my generation especially, but I think everybody now at this point is especially vulnerable to comparison through social media. Like, and obviously we're on social media right now, so it has its purposes, it has its uses, like it's not all bad, but it can definitely be used as a form of like comparing your life to like somebody else. And first of all, my 2 cents on that, I fall into this too. I'm not like, an angel, but one thing that really blew my mind, and I'm just talking a little bit of crap right now, but one thing I saw that I was like, "Oh," was, like, I would have, like, certain people that I would look at online and be like, "Oh, like, she has such a nice lifestyle, like, she's really living good, like, she's living that high life, like, she has it all, like, she has it all. She's beautiful, she's rich, she's at vacation this week, she's on vacation next week." And then, I started learning things that I didn't know about them before, where I'm like, "Oh, maybe, like, I don't have to compare myself to that person." I'm trying to, like, not be, I don't know, crass, but I wouldn't trade places with that person, and I wouldn't personally do what they're doing to achieve that. So, right away, that cuts out the comparison thing, because if you're not willing to do the same things that a person is doing to get the results they're getting, then you shouldn't even compare yourself at all. Like it's a different ball game. So also another way that so yeah, personally I feel like Gen Z, like my generation, comparison is a huge thing on social media. But like social media, like they say, but it's so true. Like social media is fake. And again, I'm gonna say something without trying to be mean or like call anybody out. But you know how we all, I don't know about you guys, but we know how we all have like our favorite influencers. Okay. I had one for a long time that was like, she was like my favorite influencer. Like I like totally looked up to her. I'm like, oh my gosh, like this girl is so cool. Like she's living that life. Like I love what she posts and blah blah blah. And I would like always go to her page. And I really liked watching her content because I was like, wow, like this is very inspiring. And like, and then I don't know how to say it, but I did pick up on the fact that some things about what she was posting were fake. And I was like, oh. So it's kind of like what they say about like meeting the people that you look up to, like how it's a different thing once you meet them. So that's kind of what happened to me. And that kind of, but it was at least useful to me because I started learning that, okay, I had like a real life example of how social media was fake. Like I really saw it firsthand. So that kind of helped me. And now when I go on social media, it's not really the same where I'm in that mindset of like comparing myself to that person, because especially in terms of lifestyle, you don't know the behind the scenes. Like you don't know how people are getting those results. I'll just say it like that. And if you wouldn't trade places with that person, if you wouldn't do the things that they're doing to get those things, then why compare yourself? Why compare yourself? Because you wouldn't do it. I've been even in the position where like I've literally gone to like people's homes that are super nice. Okay. I'm talking it like really, really. luxury, top tier, beautiful, beautiful homes. Okay. And because I've done the inner work where I'm not comparing myself, where I'm happy, like, thank God, God does his thing. Okay. God did his work on my heart about that. Okay. About like materialism and stuff. So thank God for that. But I've been in those places, and at the end of the day when I go home, I don't have that feeling of like, oh, like I wish it was me. Like I wish this was my house. You know what I mean? So I don't like I had to do that inner work about comparison on my own life. But it's a beautiful feeling when you can see somebody like, living good, having this, having that, and still loving your own life more because you're living your own life. Like there's something to be said about putting yourself back in your shoes. Like when we're comparing ourselves, we're putting ourselves in the field of that person. We're putting ourselves in their mind, in their shoes. And we have to be more mindful of that and put our energy back into ourselves. And, I've learned how to do that. And it's very, very liberating. I'll say it's very liberating because now I can be around people that are experiencing, I know a lot of people that are, hold on, I have a pop up. I know a lot of people that are literally like hyper successful, like not just successful, hyper successful. Like they are doing well. I'll say it like that. But whereas before it was working against me and I would hang out with them and I would use it as a way to like beat myself up and be like, "Oh, I'm not gonna get there." And literally, this was a conversation I had to have with one of my girlfriends, like one of my closest friends, that um, I can't compare myself to them. Like I can't compare myself to these people like in that position because I have to live my own life. Like and my life is, for I'm doing well for, myself. And I can't like use them as a barometer and like compare myself and like beat myself up for not being where they are because that's just like a trap. Like I'll be comparing myself all day. Like, and especially it's different when it's one thing to see things online and be like, oh, that's so cool. Like that would be so nice to have. And it's another thing when you're actually witnessing this stuff in real life and seeing like how people live and then having to go back to your own. And it just makes you like if you're not careful, it can make you feel like you're not doing enough, like you don't have enough. But again, that's a trap. So now I can be around this kind of environment and not use it against myself. Like obviously I have my own personal goals. I have my own vision of like what success is going to mean to me, but I'm no longer in that place where I'm using other people's success, other people's you know, fruit, if you want to talk in like spiritual language, and using it as a way to like beat myself up, if that makes sense. So yeah, like I said, this whole thing about self-talk, negative self-talk, positive self-talk comes up a lot personally in my life around the area of success and what it means to be successful because that's personally for me one of the things that I care about the most. My whole life, I was always like that. Like, I never really, I mean, who knows? People change. I might change. But ever since I was little, I promise you, all I ever cared about was being successful. I don't know why I'm this way. I think it's because, you know, you know what they say about people that a lot of what's interesting is that a lot of people that have a lot of success, I've noticed when they're like telling their life stories and stuff, obviously not everybody is the same, not everybody has the same experiences. But I've noticed, they've gone through some stuff. It's not like their life was always beautiful and like perfect. And, I just think that's a beautiful thing. Like, I don't know. I've always cared about like being successful more than anything else. So that's why sometimes that can work against me. And that's the area of my life where I've had to work on how I'm talking to myself because if I'm not careful, I can beat myself up. Okay. I can like compare myself to this, to that, or even not even a person. It won't even like this is how arbitrary and like weird it gets. Like it won't even be a person that I'm comparing myself to. It'll be like a concept or like an idea of what I could be doing. Like I'll literally compare myself to me and beat myself up. Like we do these weird mental things, like we find ways to be hard on ourselves and it's unnecessary. That's why I wanted to make today's video. If you're just joining us on TikTok, this whole live is going to be on my YouTube channel. So definitely go and check out the first part because we're wrapping up soon. But we're talking about upgrading our self-talk, upgrading the way that we view ourselves, the way that we talk to ourselves so that we can upgrade our self-esteem, right? So anyways, in summary, you can start improving your self-talk by starting to notice the thing that you are being critical of and observing the opposite. So, for example, on a day where you're criticizing your looks, like you have something about your physical appearance that you're picking apart, as we tend to do as human beings, on that day, you find one thing you like about yourself and you focus on that thing. So, if on that day you're looking in the mirror and you're like, "Oh, I don't like my stomach. Like I feel like my stomach looks weird today." On that day, you focus a lot on your skin. Okay, but my skin looks beautiful. It's just about changing the things that we're focusing on, changing the things that we focus on, and having that self awareness and that level of self honesty to be like, okay, but I could be doing something about this and I'm choosing not to. So that's another thing. Like, you're choosing your experience. So if there's obviously we don't have control over everything, but like a lot of the time there are things that we could be doing to improve our situation that we're not doing. So also that just comes down to like being honest with yourself. So yeah, changing the things that we observe when we're being very critical of ourselves is one way that we can combat negative self-talk, and also just focusing on ourselves a little bit less. Like I was saying earlier, depression and anxiety, a lot of the times that happens as a result of being too focused on ourselves. So sometimes we have to just zoom out and put our focus on something else, put our focus on something that's more important. Okay. Like I personally had to do that too. And, this also happens with breakups. Like having, when we're going through it, when we're on that emotional roller coaster of a breakup or of a relationship, or we're just overthinking about a person, even dating, this can happen. um, what's happening is that we're just overly fixated on that person. Just put your focus and your attention on something else. So I've heard people say this, and I don't know if this is toxic. So if I'm being toxic, please let me know. I'm gonna just say it though. It, I don't know if this is toxic, but like I said, changing where we're putting our attention is going to be very helpful if we're overthinking, whether it's about ourselves and we're being very critical of ourselves, or we're overthinking about a person. Like maybe this person's not doing what we want them to do when we're in the dating phase. A lot of people get their anxiety triggered during dating. But for me, wait, I forgot what I was going to say. Wait, what was I saying? Um, I totally forgot what I was going to say. That's crazy. But yeah. Anyways, observing. Oh, this is what I was saying. And dang, that happens frequently sometimes. Should I be concerned? But basically, like changing where you're putting your attention is going to help you a lot. So this is what I was saying. I don't know if this is toxic, but for me, when I went through my breakup last year and I was freaking miserable, okay? Talk about negative self-talk. Ooh, child, like I was really not in a good place mentally. I'm going to say that. Obviously, sometimes these things get triggered by our life circumstance. So in this case, it was a breakup, right? But when I tell you, for months, I was freaking like sad in my room, being a freaking loser, like just hung up on my breakup, OD, like, but like over the top, okay? Like for the whole 2024, my whole 2024 was negatively impacted by this one event. And that falls on me. That falls on me because I was too focused on that for too long. But basically my attention and my energy was on the situation, was on him basically. But do you know what ended up helping me in the end? I want you guys to guess. Someone said it happens. Yeah, it does happen. I know it's real life, but someone said it also happens when you have a lot of free time. Yeah, bingo. That's what happened next. Okay. So after months of being miserable, after months of being totally like just down bad, okay, I'm gonna say it like that. Also, I had other things happen that didn't help. Okay. It wasn't just the breakup. It was just like, when one thing goes wrong, other things go wrong. That's what happened to me. Okay. But the thing that helped me was literally working. And it's so funny because working was the one thing I didn't want to do. And that's the thing that ended up helping me. But now when I look back, it makes sense because what happened was I started to put my intention and my energy somewhere else. I started to put my attention on my work, on my work, like, and not on him, not on the breakup, not on the situation. And that's literally what helped me come out of that. And I was really like down bad mentally, like I said, for months. As soon as I started giving myself things to do, not even like fun things, I mean, actually, I'm not gonna say that, but basically, I started, like, making a lot of videos, but, like, on hyper speed, like, I'm talking, like, every single day I made a video on my YouTube channel, And some of those videos actually did really well. And then that helped me stay motivated. But now I can see why that helped because I put my energy and my attention on my work and I took it out of hyper fixating on the breakup, on the guy, on the situation, if that makes sense. So, my toxic advice that I don't know, but for me it worked that if you want to try it out, you can, is that if you're going through a breakup or something and or you're trying to get over somebody or you're overthinking, just literally make yourself busy AF. Like literally start working like a MF. Like just start work. Okay. I didn't even like working like that. Okay. I was being like a little lazy. I'm not gonna lie. I forced myself to love working. Okay. I was like, even if I had to do the most like mundane, boring ish, I'm freaking made myself like it. I was like, okay, you know what? I found things to be grateful. Honey, I brainwashed myself. I brainwashed myself. I'm like, okay, this kind of sucks. I don't really want to go to work right now, but at least it's getting me out of the house. At least I have something to do and I don't have to be in my room thinking about this MF that I'm trying to get over. Okay, so like I don't know why working really helped me come out of that but I think the bigger idea is that I put my attention and I put my energy somewhere else. Someone said that didn't work for me because at nighttime they popped up. What does that mean? What popped up? Someone said, or you can find things you like to do or do the risky things you never thought you would do. Yeah, exactly. That's the same thing. Putting your attention, putting your energy somewhere else. And for me, the work thing was kind of like trifold because I have work that I'm not super passionate about that I just do because I literally need to make a living. And it's like I'm indifferent about it and I just do it because I have to, I'm just being an adult. But then I have work like this, like my YouTube videos, my lives, where it's like it is still a form of work, like, it is still, like, a conscious effort to, like, do these things, but it's fun, it's, like, creative. So, I have more fun with it, and I can find things that I really enjoy about doing it, and a lot at that time, my hyperfixation became my YouTube channel. Like, at that time, I started making my different thumbnails, and I started coming up with different concepts, and the funny thing is that once you take that focus off of yourself, that you're overly focused on you and you start putting it toward other things, for example, for me, it's my YouTube channel where I'm making videos basically sharing things that I learned to help other people. Beautiful. It's beautiful how it works. How when you start being of service to other people and you take your mind off of you, stop being so self-centered, so self-focused, even self-pity, anxiety, depression, a lot of the time that's coming from a place of being overly self-focused. What took me out of that was being of service to other people. How beautiful. How beautiful. Someone said, "You're what's good? What's good?" We're talking about upgrading our self talk today, and we're almost done. So if you missed it, catch the earlier part of my live on my YouTube channel and subscribe if you're new there. Check out my inner work journal, Wisdom in Dark Paradise. It's available on my page. But yeah, so personally for me, that's what helped. I don't know if that's toxic, but basically I had to make myself busy. I had to make myself like working. I had to low key convince myself that I enjoyed the things that I was doing because at the end of the day, it took my mind off of the other thing, which was not where I wanted to put my energy and focus on anymore. And then the thing is that that was only just a short period of time. That was like maybe a month or two that I really started like hyper fixating on work and being busy and being productive. And then once that season passed, like, I moved on to other things, but in general, I moved on with my life. I wasn't in that place where I was hung up over the breakup, so it really did help me. It really did help me. Okay. Yeah, so that's what I wanted to say about that, and, yeah, so changing the things that we observe is gonna be a very helpful part of, like, upgrading our self-talk, because when you're overly fixated on one trait about yourself or one thing that you don't like, you're not noticing the other things that are going well. That's why sometimes we remember people's insults or their criticism over like the 10,000 positive things that we heard that day. Like, why do we do that? Like, that's just a habit of having negative self talk, like a negative self opinion, hyper fixating on the one bad thing somebody might have said to you. Right. So, yeah. And then the last thing I want to say about like actually being overly critical or having negative self-talk over your physical appearance is I want to have you consider this mental reframe that you in your natural state is very attractive. Like you just being naturally yourself, like that just vibe, that whole state of being is attractive. Like that's very like sexy when you just see somebody being themselves, right? Like confidence rubs off. Like Lil Wayne said, confidence is a stain you can't wipe off. Okay, nothing replaces confidence. Like you can't go out to the store and buy confidence. Like you have to have that, right? So if you catch yourself being overly fixated on how you look and you feel like that's where you get caught up in being very mean to yourself, consider that just you being natural is attractive in itself. Like just you being in your natural state. F what they say. F what they say. Trust me. Okay? Like you can outshine people just by being you. And that's when they get tight. Like that's when they get tight. When you don't have to do all the things that they're doing and you're still getting the same kind of attention. Okay? Being yourself, being natural, being that's attractive. Okay? So I just want to say that if you're hung up on how you look and you that's where your negative self-talk tends to come from, you in your natural state is attractive. And adding to like what's it called? How beauty is like a subjective thing because what one person considers beautiful, another person might not, is that what the weird thing that made me wake up to this is like you okay, so say you have something about yourself that you consider a flaw, right? Like, I don't know, everybody's different, but like you look at that thing and you're like, oh, like this is the thing I have to work on. That's a thing that you're using to sabotage yourself. That's a thing that you're beating yourself up about it. Somebody else can see that in you, and that's what they like. So when I started noticing that, like the things that I consider to be my flaws, especially like, physical things, when I started noticing that there are people that like that about me, I'm like, "Oh, like, this is all just arbitrary anyway. Why am I using this to beat myself up about?" You know what I mean? I feel like with women especially, this comes into play a lot with, like, physique and, like, body image, and it's like, we'll be so hard on ourselves about how our body looks. Like, I know this is such a mental stronghold for women, it's insane, and I was so disappointed. I'm not should I talk some shit or should I be filtered? What should I do? Someone said, "Hey, hey, we're talking about upgrading our self-talk, and I was debating if I should spill some tea or be kind and reserve my thoughts on this." Okay. Okay, I'm gonna just say, okay, I was okay, so like I was saying, physique and body image is something that comes up with women a lot, right? This is the thing that we're using to like sabotage ourselves, to be hard on ourselves. And the messed up thing is that once you get so used to being hard on yourself in like a certain way, you almost it almost becomes a familiar thing. Like when it's not there, you kind of miss it. Like you're kind of going to do things intentionally to like bring that to you again. So, like, if you're used to being in a state of anxiety and then suddenly you're not feeling anxious, you're going to look for something to be anxious about because you've trained yourself to be living in this state of anxiety. If you're, hold on, if you're like used to being depressed, if you're used to feeling down and having low energy, and then one day you wake up and you feel like you're in a good mood, you're going to be like, wait, where's the depression? Like you're gonna like find something to like bring yourself down because we have these states that we are comfortable at, if that makes sense. Hold on, I just got a text. Everybody want to text me and call me when I'm doing this. It's just so funny. Let me get off because I've been on here for a minute. Actually, I have other things to do. But anyways, yeah, so women especially, we use physique as a way to beat ourselves up. Like we use body image as that thing that's like we're being hard on ourselves about, right? And there was this girl that I used to love her content because she spoke about, her experience with trigger warning EDs, and she made all of this like really like affirming content on like how being skinny isn't everything, and your body's going to change and it fluctuates, and you don't have to beat yourself up on it. And she was like so inspiring to me because she was like, hey, I was just like you. Like I used to have this struggle with my eating, and I used to beat myself up on this body image stuff, and now I overcame it, and now I have a healthy body image. And she wasn't out of shape by any means, but she was just talking on that. So I was like, "You go, girl." Like, she was one of my favorite influencers at the time because I'm like, finally somebody's talking about it. Finally somebody's, bringing it to light. I was so sad, guys. Guess what I saw her do the other day? And it's like, this just goes to show, I just want to like freaking shake the computer right now because this just goes to show how much of a stronghold this body image stuff has on women. And I'm not here to say that any um, goal that you might have personally for your own physique is wrong. You get to look how you want to look. Okay, period. Like, no, there's no wrong. That's not wrong. That's not what I'm saying. But I was so sad because she made this video, like a TikTok, and she was basically like, body checking. She lost some weight recently. She's like, very thin right now. And again, I'm not here to say that's good or bad. This is objectively what I saw in the video. She was basically showing off that she lost weight, that she's thin now. And she was like saying, oh, I can't even say it because then you're going to know who it is. So I can't even say that. But basically, she was insinuating how much she loves something toxic about something. I can't even say it, dang, because you're gonna know, dang it. But I don't know. I was disappointed because she's again basically um, promoting that toxic mindset around body image, which is so weird because she was the influencer that I was looking at to overcome that. So when she posted that, it made me sad because I'm like, okay, first of all, you're kind of low key phony because now you're flexing the thing that you were literally helping girls overcome. And I'm especially passionate about stuff like that because like young girls are so impressionable. So it's like you were just preaching like the whole positivity thing. You were just helping girls overcome their eating disorders. And now you're making a video that's probably going to like trigger people and you're showing off the very thing that you said you overcame. It made me sad. Yeah. So anyways, that was just a quick little rant, but yeah. So that's just such a stronghold that I see on women is the whole body image thing. That was just my 2 cents. Um, I should watch what I say because I don't, it's so easy to just start talking crap on live. It's so crazy. I'm gonna watch my mouth. But you know what I mean? Like that was disappointing. But it just goes to show how much how much of a stronghold the whole body image thing has on women. And yeah, so that's what we're talking about today. And if you missed the beginning part of this live, it's going to be on my channel. But yeah, so anyways, you in your natural state, that's the most attractive thing. So the whole thing that we get caught up about, like our looks and using that to be the thing that we're critical of, should just go out the window because natural, like you in your natural state, that's why they say that people who are living in their authenticity, they're like the highest vibe. They used to say something else and now they like said that the highest vibe is somebody who's being authentic. There's a reason for that. There's a reason that people who are being themselves look more attractive. People who have that natural confidence. Like I know a lot of people don't love to see it, like, but it's true. And like I said earlier, some people can like the things that you don't like about yourself. So the whole beauty standard thing is a very arbitrary thing. You could be picking apart something about yourself and then you have somebody who likes those things. And that's like such a refreshing feeling and it's very like um when I started picking up on that, that really helped me. Like, I'm not gonna lie, that really helped me. That people can look at the things that you don't like and they like that about you. Like, yeah. I would share something, but someone said that's real. Yeah, it's true. So I feel like that's helpful to know because that helps women chip away at that whole beauty standard thing because we're like tortured with that shit, man. It's awful. Um, so yeah, another thing, last thing I'm gonna say, because I've been on this live for like an hour and I can't believe how fast time went by, but this whole thing is recorded and put on my channel if you want to watch the earlier part. Last thing I wanna say is that we basically take on other people's opinions of us and use them as our own the more that we hang out with them. So, like somebody that you're hanging out with once or twice, what they say, maybe it'll be easier for it to go in one ear out the other. We won't think that much of it. Maybe for a little bit and then it will go away because we're not seeing them again. But the people that we hang out with a lot, their opinions of us are going to really impact the way that we view ourselves. So you want to be careful with who you're hanging out with and just how they look at you specifically. You want to pay attention to what their view is of you. And that's why people, when they have a really big goal, sometimes they need that time to themselves because, like, it's almost like having other people constantly affirm what they think of you is going to block you from thinking that you're the person that can get that goal, if that makes sense. So I feel like that's why people go into these time periods where they're not talking to people for that season so that they can work on something, because it's like other people's opinions like literally can affirm things about ourselves that we don't want to be there, if that makes sense. So moral of the story, other people's opinions of us definitely impact the way that we view ourselves, and we start to pick up on them as our own. And I feel like there's obvious ways that this can happen. Like, for example, an obvious way this happens is like, if you have a really critical parent or something when you're growing up, like obviously you're going to start to have maybe a lower opinion of yourself because you're constantly being told every day this or that. I know a lot of people experience that. But there's more subtle ways that this can happen. And that can come in the form of just like conversation with people that you're talking to, like your friends, and just like little things that they say that maybe it's not even an insult, but it's just something that you're not trying to align with anymore. So obviously, if they're constantly affirming that to you and saying that to you, you're going to start to pick up on that in your mind. You're going to start to view yourself the way that they view you. This is such a weird thing to explain. I don't know if I'm doing it any justice, but it's just something I noticed that, like, I started to look at myself the way that other people looked at me. And that's why, like who you're in a relationship with is really important, because if you're with a partner who, thinks you're beautiful and they're like affirming you, or at the very least, they're being like neutral and just a pleasant presence to be around on a daily basis, right? That's all a relationship is, just an extended amount of time you're spending with somebody. But that's why, like, a good relationship where they're like being kind and like affirming positive things about you. I know a lot of women, they learn to like actually look at themselves differently through a healthy relationship. Like when it's going good, it's going good. You know what I'm saying? Like I know a lot of women who have had positive experiences in relationships, and they actually learn to like love themselves through that relationship. So when you're in a healthy relationship and they're affirming these positive things about you, or like, adding to your life in that way, irreplaceable, invaluable. And what I wanted to say about that is that that's like an obvious way that somebody's view of you impacts how you see yourself. Like it can literally make you more likely to dress a certain way that day, or do things because now you're feeling confident, right? Now you're feeling good because you have somebody in your corner, you have somebody that has your back in a healthy relationship, versus like a toxic relationship. Um, they can be affirming negative things to you every day. Like they can tell you, you don't look good in that shirt. Like they can give you like negative little insults, and then you're starting to internalize that and you're starting to make that mean something about yourself. So the way that other people view you affects your own opinion of you, and you have to be very, very careful. I feel like especially in relationships or even friendships, anybody that you're spending a lot of time with, careful with how they look at you, careful with how they view you. And it's so weird how I picked up on these things after the relationships end. I wish I could catch on earlier. I wish I could catch on to these things earlier so I don't have to freaking deal with that. But like even the tiniest things, even somebody like saying one small thing to you every day that's an insult or that's negative or like critical. I'll say critical. Even a small critical comment every day, eventually you're going to start internalizing that. And it's fucked up. Someone said you look amazing. Thank you. Yeah, no, it is funny in theory, but when that actually happens to you, it's like, dang. Someone said, do you think people change for love? I think people can change for love. People are going to do what they're going to do regardless. You know what I'm saying? So that comes down to like who you are as a person. Someone said, nice nails. Thank you. Um, someone, like, I thought it was cool when I did it. I was like, okay, I'm being different. Hey. And then someone was like, two different colors, and they gave me like a weird look. But then yesterday, my friend was like, that's so you. I love it. So you see, even little things like that can impact the way that we view ourselves. Someone said, so far I see no lies. Thank you. Someone says, so you always speak life no matter what? What do you mean speak life? Yeah, so people's opinions, people's view of you, they impact you in small, small ways and also very obvious ways. And we have to just be a little bit more observant, be a little bit more aware of what people's opinions of us are because that's going to impact you. And especially when you have a goal, when you have something that you're trying to get done. And I feel like this is like this is my truth. I don't know about y'all, but like when I have something I really, really want to do, if I have anybody like I mean, at this point, I'm so used to it that it doesn't affect me anymore. Like I've learned to like just tune it out. It's become like a superpower at this point. But like in the beginning, when I was trying to like, you know, move mountains in my life, like really trying to accomplish some larger goals, and I would like talk about it with people. Like sometimes people just they're not trying to put you down. They just literally don't believe that it's possible. Like they really don't. And, that just comes down to your own views and your own beliefs about what you're capable of. But if you're hanging around somebody who doesn't believe that that's possible for them, why would they think that's possible for you? They're not going to think that's possible for you. So when you talk about these things with them, they're going to like basically try to diffuse you, try to pour water on your little fire, your little ambition because they don't think that it can happen. And that's just them projecting their own fear and stuff. But like even that, even somebody's opinion of that, of you not being able to do it, can impact you. Eventually, when it happens enough times, you'll learn to become resilient. You're going to learn to ignore and just be like, okay, you're going to actually start using it as like fuel to like actually get it done faster and get it done sooner. But in the beginning, if you're not aware and you hear that kind of response from people, you're going to think twice. Even that's enough to make you not even try. Mm, I don't like that. So we have to just be a little bit more observant on that. And again, anytime that I can't believe I've been on here for this long. This probably has been my longest live. I'm just yapping. But so, anyways, in summary, the next time you catch yourself being mean to yourself, the next time you catch yourself being critical to yourself, experiencing negative self talk, a very useful thing that I learned was that, okay, so say you caught yourself in a negative spiral mentally. You say something like, you're not good enough. Let's just use that as an example. Or whatever the unique insult is in your own brain. You have to ask yourself, who does this voice sound like? Like, who does this sound like right now? Because sometimes, like I said, we're picking up on other people's view of us, other people's opinions of us, other people's maybe comments of us. Maybe somebody gave you one little insult like years ago. And at that moment, you're just repeating what they had said. You say, what does this sound like right now? Oh, this kind of sounds like that chick that made that comment toward me years ago. It sounds like her. It doesn't sound like me. Sometimes we have to pick up on the fact that the voice, like the opinions or the thoughts we're having, they're not coming from us. They're coming from somebody else. They're coming from maybe a figure in your life that they kind of like drilled that into you, like, but it's not really you. Learning to differentiate when those negative thoughts are coming from somebody else's thought patterns, somebody else's commentary, and not you is huge because in that case, that's when you just let it pass. That's what you do in that situation. You just let it pass. You say, this is not coming from me. Who is this coming from? Who does this voice sound like? And when you pick up on the fact that that's not your voice, like it's somebody else's thought patterns, it's somebody else's way of experiencing the world, even because people's worldviews rub off on you too. And that can be either very good or very bad. But once you start to pick up on the fact that it's not your voice, it's somebody else's, even spiritually, which I'm not going to get into that on this one, that voice can belong to someone else's, something else's. Once you just become aware of that, you start to break the pattern. Like that's the beginning of breaking the pattern. It's just becoming aware that that's not coming from you. That's coming from somebody else, something else. Okay. So that's what I wanted to say about that. But in general, I'm going to get off soon. In general, like another good rule of thumb is to stop taking yourself so seriously in order to break this pattern of negative self-talk. Someone said, have you read the book What to Say When You Talk to Yourself? I don't know. I have never read that book, actually. I haven't heard of that book. But yeah, in general, like just taking yourself less seriously I talked about that in my last live too, is gonna be helpful in breaking this pattern too, because sometimes we are just like taking ourselves too serious. Like it's really not that serious. Like they say, like when you're if you're like shy to go to the gym and you feel like everybody's going to be like looking at you or something, like you feel already that embarrassment from coming from that. The truth is nobody's looking at you. No one's looking at you. Everybody's doing their own thing. Everybody's focused on themselves. So sometimes, like, not taking ourselves that seriously sometimes and just being silly. And it's like, if you, for example, you wake up in the morning, you're like, I look ugly today. Like, you're looking in the mirror, like, I look ugly. Like, today's going to be effed up and I feel ugly and everything sucks. In that moment, just be like, you know what? I'm ugly today. It is what it is. Like, you just kind of take away that, like, seriousness. Like, it's really not that serious. You know what I'm saying? So, I've had to learn to, like, laugh at myself in times that I'm being hypercritical and be like, "Girl, like, get over yourself. Like, it's really not that serious." Okay? And also what's helped me get over this pattern of negative self-talk, last thing I'll say, is that focusing on other things, like we kind of talked about earlier, focusing on other things, even if it's a cause, even if it's a goal, things that are just outside of yourself, things that are like bigger than you, just putting your attention and your energy on that thing, even if it's just temporarily, even if it's just for an hour, like that's going to help you start to break the pattern of negative self talk too, if that makes sense. All right. So I'm going to get off. This whole live is recorded and put on my YouTube channel. Definitely subscribe to my YouTube channel because all of my lives are posted on there. I learned that I need to stop planning the lives because every time I plan it, I don't go on or like it's just like not the same. So I don't have a live schedule. I just go on randomly, but I do try to record them and put them on my channel most of the time. So if you enjoyed it, definitely subscribe to my YouTube because YouTube notifies you when I go live. I don't think TikTok does. So yeah, let me know if you enjoyed the live. Let me know any thoughts you might have. I'm going to get off in a minute. And if you're new to my page, if you're new to my work, I have inner work programs. I have one-to-ones available. And I have an inner work journal that I don't talk about enough. It's called Wisdom in Dark Paradise. And that's a really good place to start if you want to just get into that habit of being reflective. It's a guided journaling practice. It's on my page if you're watching this on TikTok. But yeah, I'm going to get off in a minute. It was so nice being on live. I like lives now. Before I loved doing the uploaded videos, and now I'm like, I want to go live. So definitely catch me next time. But bye. Bye, YouTube. And bye, TikTok. I'll see you guys later. Oh my gosh, I'm still on.